I'm Matt86,
And I'm Astros Knots.
and this is the TheEnterKeyExperience. So it's been a week since the last time we got to speak about much, I guess you could say. But for the most part, as far as any podcast topics, we really haven't got to talk. So one of the things, and this isn't a great segue for this topic, but one of the things I'm always curious about when I am talking to either viewers or just other people in general that I know play video games specifically, is asking like, what are your favorite games, right? Whether it's a genre or like specific games. And to me, it's not just about what's now, but what you started with, like when you were younger, right? So
Right.
for me, what was your favorite game when you were younger, like a lot younger, versus now? So I'll let you take a stab at that topic.
Alright. How much younger would you want to go by?
Let's say like 10 years ago.
10 years ago. 10 years and years ago, that's 2016.
I'm gonna have to do a bigger jump than that, though.
Yeah, I would say I love the Infamous series
Mm.
on PlayStation. Yeah, I grew up with those games. I had Infamous, the first game on PS3. I played through that, both the hero and the villain story.
Mm.
Infamous 2 I had a little bit later in the generation. I did both sides again, and then Infamous Second Son with Delson Rowe being the main protagonist, and I did both of those sides, and I loved all the games.
Mm.
Yeah, those were the games I liked.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that at all for some reason.
Really? What were you expecting?
I was thinking like Mario games or something like that.
Oh, I mean, I'm a Legend of Zelda fan because of my grandmother, so...
Oh, okay, there
If
you
we're
go.
going based off of Legend of Zelda, funny enough, I loved the DS games of Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks.
Mm.
Played those with my grandmother. I loved them.
Okay. And a bit younger than 12, I'm sure, when you
Yeah.
playing some of those. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those. Well, first, I love both or all of those games, really.
Hell
I
yeah.
played. For me, if I were to say for the same age that you were 10 years ago, so when I was 12 or something like that, or 13 or anywhere around that. So when I was around that age, I still had, I believe, a Game Boy, and then I had the PlayStation 1. And the game I played probably the most on PlayStation 1, or at least games, were like the Final Fantasy series. So I played tons of Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8. The biggest one of all was Final Fantasy Tactics, which is more or less like a turn-based strategy kind of game. They made other versions of Final Fantasy Tactics. I liked them, but they weren't like my favorite. I prefer the original one. I also played tons of Zelda as well. I actually have this one right here, and it's the Legend of Zelda. Oh, it's upside down. It's the Game & Watch version of Legend of Zelda, which if you turn it on, you can see like it's like a little clock there. But if you go to there, you have like 3 different versions of Zelda on there. I can't really get... Yeah, there's The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, and The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. And they're all on this little guy, like full
Is
color
it
and
the
everything.
35th anniversary and edition Game & Watch?
I believe it is.
Hell yeah, that's sick.
So it's got the gold on the front, Game & Watch. I have the Mario one too somewhere. But yeah, this was a big one for me growing up as well, because I had original Nintendo, like really when I was really young. Actually the first console I had technically was the Atari 2600 because of my parents, or because of my mom. And then later we got the regular Nintendo, the NES, and then the Super Nintendo, where I think for that was my favorite was probably Kirby. So really big game back then. Kirby Dreamland and stuff like that. Huge game. Sonic, when I had the Sega. Actually, one of the funniest games that I remember playing when I was a kid, which I shouldn't have played, was the Beavis and Butthead game. I freaking loved that game. It was funny. It was totally off the wall kind of game, but it was a fun game. At least for what I remember. I'm certain if I played it now, I'd probably be like, what the fuck is this kind of thing? But like, it was fun at the time. And of course, PlayStation. I had PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, Wii U, Switch, Switch 2. Like, I've had almost every console. I've had GameCube, Super Nintendo as well. I think the only one I can think of is like the Condor one, and there might have been another one I can't think of. But I had all the Game Boys too. I had a Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, the DS, the 3DS, the 3DX XL. Like I've had all of those games. I mean, I worked at GameStop at one point, so
Okay.
like I was, they were very available to me when it came to games and things like that. Even playing like tabletop games and stuff and that's actually one of the first things I remember playing too, is like playing D&D tabletop version, learning how to play that at a younger age. Not like 10 or anything though. It was probably like in my early teens, and then once I got other people I knew into it, then we could play more. But yeah, I think the earliest game I could remember though that I was actually like a huge fan of though was definitely Final Fantasy Tactics. Versus now, it's most just RPGs, I guess. I just enjoy playing.
Yeah.
Did you already say what games you like? Now?
Oh, now games that I
Yes.
like. No.
So like kind of comparing like the game you like early on to the games you like now.
I liked the new Forza. That was a pretty good game. Now I was never too much into racing games, but just loved the scenery of Japan. New Resident Evil, that was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I really wanted to play that one.
Oh, it's amazing. You should play it. And yeah, those are two games this year that I played that I enjoyed.
Okay, but I mean, what would you say is like your favorite? Like, let's say in the last like 3 to 5 years, is there any game that you probably would go back and play multiple times, or even genre if you can't think of like a specific game?
I could say Rocket League. Love Rocket League. Yeah,
Okay.
Rocket League's very timeless.
Okay. What about you heard about the second one coming out, right?
Second Rocket League. What?
Yeah, there's supposed to be a Rocket League 2 coming out, and it's gonna be on Unreal 6.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised I knew that.
I didn't think it was gonna be a whole different thing. I thought it was just an update to the engine, and that's all.
No, pretty sure that it's like a whole new game coming out, and it's gonna be on.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
That's what it's called. Is effectively happening through a major engine overhaul rather than a standalone sequel, is what this says. Highlighted by Unreal Engine 6 teaser shown in Paris. Psyonix and Epic Games are skipping Unreal Engine 5, rebuild the game from scratch on Unreal Engine 6. So that's cool in general. I mean,
the only thing I'm scared of is Unreal Engine 5. A lot of the new games that came out with it had problems.
Yes.
I'm just scared that this engine is going to screw up Rocket League in some way.
So I wouldn't say it was necessarily the engine that was the problem as much as because engines are kind of limited by, or rather the developers are limited by the engine, but kind of also the other way around. When you think about what what the purpose of the engine is, right? Because that's like the difference between, like, when you're comparing, let's say, Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, you're going from, let's say, actually I have a great example of how I can illustrate this. When you're upgrading something like this, right, going from one engine to another, and in this case their biggest thing was the amount of pixels within an area, right? Because here's the thing, physics doesn't change. Like, the amount of energy that goes into it, the amount of memory that goes into it, that all changes on a hardware level. But the problem is, when you make a game that can't handle the current gen hardware, then you start having issues. And then also the fact that a lot of the games that were coming out that were running on Unreal Engine 5, there was no optimization.
Okay.
So back to what I was saying. So the biggest thing between the software for something, or the engine rather, and working with the hardware is the optimization between those two things. Because if you have the software that might look good on paper and you throw it into the process of whatever your hardware is, it still has to be optimized and set up in a way that it's more efficient. So efficiency and optimization are the main factors when you're building a program or application or whatever it is using a certain engine. Because here's the thing, like, you can give a kid everything they need to, like, let's say you give a kid Legos to build a castle or something like that. But now they could still do that. But now if you gave them a bunch of Legos and said, make a sandcastle, you understand what I mean by that? Like,
Yeah.
So you can't make a sandcastle out of Legos.
Right.
So to optimize that situation, you would have to give the kids sand.
Yes.
So that's where there's kind of like a not miscalculation. It's more of a misinterpretation with where things are being built as an engine and where hardware sits. Here's the thing though, it is Unreal's fault for not optimizing for those things as far as working with specific cards and stuff like that, because that's what's required. If you can't throw a Lamborghini engine into a F-150 and expect it to suddenly win races. Like it's not made that way. So it has to be restructured to actually make sense for its purpose. But yeah, anyways, we went on a totally different path there too. That's totally fine. Just going from favorite games to Unreal Engine 6.
Yep.
But anyways, so the other, I'll just jump topic. It's not really so much the next topic, but it's kind of similar in the same vein, because like you could have your favorite game. So like your favorite game, in the last like 3 to 5 years being Rocket League, mine being like RPGs and stuff like that, or role-playing games to a degree. Now, I described my favorite thing as a genre as a whole, and you described yours as like a singular game. But the thing is, game genre ranking, in my opinion, so like if you're thinking back to all the games you played, let's say the last 10 games you played, what would be the majority of, like genre-wise, what would be the majority of those games?
The majority genre, okay. I'd say shooter, I think.
Shooter?
Yeah, shooter genre. First person shooter.
Okay. So what are some of those?
Like for example, Resident Evil, kinda. It's a horror first person shooter, I would say.
Okay. I probably put that in the horror side of things. I feel
more horror than shooter, yeah.
I think when I think of shooter, I think of things like COD or
okay, gotcha.
Battlefield, that kind of thing. When I think, if you said, actually, if anyone, not just you, said like Resident Evil, horror game would just come to mind immediately.
Yeah.
But what else would you say?
Action.
Action? Okay, yeah, that's a good one. The last 10 games that you played were action games. Would you say action games are the most memorable of the genres that you've played? Or what would you say,
I wouldn't say that.
When it comes to games in general, what are the most memorable, like whether it's the story, the gameplay, the mechanics, the artwork, the music, like what are the aspects of a game that make it memorable? And is it solely something that's based on genre, or is it just how the game's made that you would say?
I'd say for me it's the genre. I love games with a pretty good story. I love games where as you progress you level up your stats, and just some characters from a game. Like I recently played Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. I love the character of Edward Kenway and his story from being a pirate to being a person who genuinely wants to help the assassins.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd say his story is the most memorable part of that game? Okay.
Yes.
What kind of game would you say that is?
RPG, yeah.
RPG? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that's an RPG.
Okay. What would you say as far as like the story? What is like a key point of the story that makes it most memorable?
The key point of the story is the entire reason why Edward Kenway became a pirate and what was doing this shit is, for the longest time all he cared about was becoming rich. So that way when he came back home to his wife, they didn't have to live as poor people and have terrible food and keep getting sick and whatnot.
Okay.
And for most of the time, he's chasing after all this gold and all that. And as I said before, there becomes a point where he starts genuinely trying to learn the assassin way instead of just looking as an assassin and being a pirate per se.
Okay. So what about being what about being an assassin is appealing, and how does that help his family?
I know that the assassins in Creed Black Flag Precinct had this certain code of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find the code so I can like reference it, but it's not giving me what I want. I don't know how to explain.
That's fine. I'm not too worried about it. But
Gotcha.
I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, as far as like what it took to get to that point and becoming an assassin, also kind of a pirate from the sound of it, but also more of an assassin. Maybe it's like an honor thing or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So overall, would you say RPGs are more memorable, or
Yes.
overall? Okay, and that's
RPGs
because of the
are
story.
by far the. Yeah, I'd
Okay.
say so.
Okay, and I agree. Like, I agree with that. I feel like that's like kind of the premise of most RPGs in general. Is like it's like an interactive movie, and
Yeah.
movies are pretty freaking memorable. At least when they're good. I mean, I could think of a few RPGs I played that were not very memorable, and I kind of just gave up on them because of that fact. So
Yeah.
and then I could think of a few story-driven games that are action-packed, that aren't necessarily RPG technically, but they're also very memorable and have great stories. And I think that's one of the things that draws me towards RPGs too, and actually one of the reasons why one of my favorite games from the past, and it's probably still one of my top like 5 games of Final Fantasy Tactics, is because of the story and how engaging it is, and how even after like 20 plus years, I'd still play the game. I have it in my Switch right now, and like I play it right now. Its story is amazing. There's so much depth to it. If you haven't played Final Fantasy Tactics, not to speak to you directly, but like anyone that's into RPGs, I would definitely give it a shot. Even though it's like an older game, it's kind of a sprite, or not, I wouldn't say sprite, but it's not like a full-on 3D like style game. It's an older game that has a lot of charm to it still. And actually, if you get the newer version of it, it has cutscenes that are fully animated, voiced, that are really good. And they did a lot to, I think, improve the game with those things, even though some people feel a little weird about it because, it kind of, I wouldn't say it ruins anything as far as nostalgia's sake, but it does, I think it adds a little bit more to the dimension of the characters and stuff like that. So I definitely say check it out, if anything.
Okay.
But
yeah,
RPGs, 100%, I agree. But I also would say that there are games that, as long as their storyline is good, that's probably the main aspect of any game that could also make it memorable, is just a good story. Whether it's a freaking pinball game or a shooter, or like, for example, actually one of the games that I know that a lot of people might agree with, that has a great storyline, that is like a shooter, is one of the Call of Duties. I think it was Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And they have, because some of the characters in the storyline are very, very memorable. And a lot of people would say even some of the newer games have very memorable characters as well. And the story just exemplifies and amplifies the curiosity behind the characters and wanting to know more about them. And that's the thing too, is like, you're playing a game or watching a movie or reading a book or anything like that, if you have a stale character, you're gonna set that thing down so fast, you're not gonna want to give it a second shot. But when you're playing a game, watching a movie, reading a book, doesn't matter, and it just hooks you like that in the way that we're talking about with RPGs and other story-driven games, it's hard to put that thing down. You want to know what happens next, and that's I hate to say this because it sounds like I'm making jokes at people that play these kinds of games, but the people that play games that have no story or have no level of depth that could be interpreted as a story, like specifically some shooter games, I won't say which ones because they're pretty big, but the kind where you're just kind of running around shooting each other for no reason other than competition. I don't know why people play those games personally. Like, I will just say one particular game because it gets me every time, and I still don't understand why people like it. is Valorant.
Ah, okay.
Because it doesn't have a story. Like, the characters might have like a backstory to them, but there's no story as far as I've ever seen. And even freaking Overwatch has story to it. Like, there's a huge story with Overwatch. There's a lot more backstory with each character. And maybe Valorant just needs to be out long enough to get that, but I don't think it will. I think it's just built to appease the people that just want to shoot each other and play in a competitive game.
I feel like it's got a story, but it's not totally in depth. It's surface level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a surface level game or a surface level story is about as much story as you get from a single image.
Yeah.
Right. That's how I interpret that. Like, and you know, people say, "Oh, a picture is worth 1,000 words." 1,000 words isn't that much. Like, when you think about it, like, how many? Like, one of my books has over 40,000 words in it. That's at least 40 pages or pictures, and that's a lot that you can get from. That's a lot of information. So I'm just saying, like, surface level isn't that much if it's only one picture. Anyways, that's enough jabs from me. Like, I personally don't get into those games, mostly because I'm not a competitive person when it comes to games. I can't stand those kind of games, mostly because of how people get aggressive and stuff with that, and I'm like, I don't need that to be part of my personality.
Yeah.
But I don't know, when it comes to games and movies and just media in general, though, I find myself gravitating towards similar games to what I have played. And would you say the same to that?
I would say the same, yes.
And I think part of that is just an absolute level of gaming nostalgia, which is our next topic anyways, so I think for me, what makes the idea that developers and companies are really leaning heavy into that makes the gaming world better, but also I could say it almost dilutes it to a degree, because there's a lot of gamers that want to experience new things, especially older gamers. The only benefit I see from them remastering and remaking games for nostalgia's sake is that younger audiences will get into those. But that doesn't benefit the older players. Unless you, I guess, are a family person, and you could be like, hey, check out this game that I used to play a long time ago. Now it looks better, blah, blah, blah. Where the other person that it benefits more than anyone are the people remaking and selling the games. So, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, it depends. If the remaster is just like better graphics and better controls, but doesn't add anything meaningful to the story, I would say it's a cash grab. But something like Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, I wouldn't consider that a cash grab because of the fact that they added a new chapter into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what I think is meaningful, is just more story content, not just prettier graphics and better control schemes and whatnot.
I mean, that to me is a good thing, but at the same time, it's also kind of like another thing that I would call a hook to get some of the older people to come back to it. So, like, someone that might have played the original, but, you know, even if they, let's say, because they might own the original game, but you can only get that new content by getting the new game. There's no update for the old game to get that new content. So in that way, I would call it still a money grab or a cash grab. But I would say when the other side of that is when it becomes a game that like literally defined a genre or defined a generation, and then they remaster it for like the sake of like the new generation, it's kind of 50-50, you know.
Yeah.
The idea of it being a cash grab or just a regular, you know, nostalgia based idea, right? And so one example I could say that is kind of a 50-50 thing, although I think a lot of people would say it's more of a cash grab than anything, is Skyrim.
Okay.
Because you know how many versions of the game they came out with?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
So they remastered that. Well, I wouldn't say remastered. They came out with like a collector's edition, I think. They came out with like a Game of Year edition. They came out with like an anniversary edition. They came out with like the enhanced edition. You see where I'm going with it. Like they came out with so many versions of it. And not only that, it came out on was it PS4 or PS3? It came out with
PS3.
yeah, so it came out on PS3. Then they came out with it on PS4, and then they re-released it again on PS5. And then they also came out with it on Switch, and then they came out with it again on Switch 2, and then they came out with it again on PC, and then I think it's even on like fucking cell phones and shit like that as well.
The crazy thing is on PlayStation VR and PC VR headsets and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a VR version as well. So
Yeah.
that's one of those games where I played that the first time I ever played that game. It came out the same year my oldest was born, back in 2011.
Yeah.
And he's turning 15 this year. So the game's been out. The very first one that ever came out was 15 years ish ago. But yeah, some would argue that the Skyrim was definitely a cash grab. And then I think the only argument I have is that a kid is more likely to play a remastered, enhanced, anniversary, whatever edition of this current generation, right? Like my oldest son, he would be more likely to play whatever version is available now that's enhanced or whatever than the one from back in 2011.
Yeah.
And so if I want him to experience the game that came out literally a month before he was born, then I would say, yeah, let's play the newest version of it. So, but yeah, that's kind of the thing that you have to think about when you're looking at these games that have this level of nostalgia to them, I guess. That being said, too, one thing that you'll probably never see when it comes to Skyrim is a movie adaptation.
I could see a movie adaptation of Skyrim.
I could see it too, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
Because
I could see a TV show more than a movie, I guess.
Well, that's the thing too, right? So the same company that made Skyrim also made Fallout, and they are making a TV show. So when it comes to movie adaptations, TV adaptations, or other versions of media, they've already thrown their hat in the ring and started with Fallout, which I have to say I'm a fan of the Fallout show. I loved it, and I can't wait until the next season comes out. Yeah, that's huge for me. I'm hoping, I doubt it, but I'm hoping that maybe by like November this year, maybe mid next year, between that point, they'll come out with another, the third season or whatever. But at this point, I'd be surprised if they come out with it sooner than November. I think the last season came out in February, I think, something like that. So yeah, I'd be shocked if it was in less than a year. But I loved it. There's a lot of video game adaptations that I think I like that a lot of people don't like, and I'm like, I don't like comparing the game to these movies. I just take it as a separate thing altogether. But I think people almost get offended by like these adaptations. Is there any movie that you could think of that is a adaptation of some sort into either a movie or otherwise that you like or don't like?
Well, there was both the Super Mario movies that came out pretty recently.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen the second one yet, but yeah.
Second one was not as good as the first one because it was heavily centered on just Galaxy, of course, because the Super Mario Galaxy movie. As for the first one had references from Mario Kart, from Super Mario Bros, from just a bunch of their titles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that be a issue for some people. I think I was most interested or most curious about seeing how what's her name?
Rosalina,
yeah. How she's kind of thrown into the movie. I only saw like a quick scene or like clip of the movie with her in it. That was like the only thing that made me curious about it, but I think after that I just forgot that it even existed until you just mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, there is another one, isn't there?
Yep.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they came out with like a spin-off like Luigi's Mansion or something.
That would be sick as hell.
I could get behind that for sure. I think the other thing that people like kind of were griping about too was the fact that Chris Pratt does the voice of Mario, and that people are just getting upset about him jumping into these IPs so nonchalantly like he has.
Yeah.
Um,
Saying I remember the controversy when they released the cast list with the Super Mario movie, and how everybody, just as you said, was pissed how Chris Pratt can just land these roles, and a lot of people thought he wasn't meant for him. And
yeah.
I will say, I think in the second movie he had a better voice for Mario. I think he
Okay.
changed it a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think originally I was a little skeptical, and then I saw the movie and I was like, okay. Like for the first one, I didn't even think about him even being part of the movie because I was just too locked in for the the regular movie. Yeah, I don't think again that it's a bad thing that they come out with these adaptations or whatnot for these movies, because see here's the thing: the first adaptation I was ever exposed to was a Mario movie. It was Super Mario Bros. With
Oh yeah.
John Leguizamo was one of them. Yeah, here we go. Super
Bob
Mario
Hoskins,
Brothers. Yeah, Bob Hoskins. So, yeah, so with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. So I love that movie. Like a lot of people didn't like it. I loved it, but I was also a younger kid when the movie first came out, and it was funny. It was like a lot of adventure action to me, so I didn't care. Like I just enjoyed the movie, and I think that's like kind of the point. Like if you're getting upset that your kid is enjoying a movie because it's not the way you imagine it, then you're probably the problem.
Yeah.
Like just let them enjoy the thing as it is. Like, that's like if you hated a sports team because their roster wasn't the same as it was when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So like it's a really dumb reason to dislike something like that. The other ones too, like Resident Evil. Like the one with Mila Jovovich. Those, to me, they weren't movie adaptations really at all to me. They were just a movie with the same name and maybe like loosely fitted like plot that was similar or something like that. But I didn't look at it and be like, this is nothing like the game. How dare they? Like, that's so stupid. Like, you're gonna honestly look at Mila Jovovich and get upset? How dare you?
Yeah.
That was like one of the things that I think a lot of people they would watch that movie and they didn't even think about that because of that. Like they were just like, oh, hello. When they saw Mila Jovovich. Yeah. But anyways, oh yeah, they're coming out with they're making a Zelda movie.
Yes, they are. And I'm hoping that they reveal more information this September, where there's going to be a supposed Nintendo Direct for Zelda's 40th.
Yeah, well, the other thing too, they already showed pictures of who's playing it. So I don't know anything about them. From what I understand, they're just like new actors to like the scene, which I prefer anyways. I'm glad they didn't go with some of the people that they were thinking about using. Although there's one actress that I wouldn't mind seeing play Zelda. I'm glad they didn't choose the person for
Link.
That there was a few people that they were like, oh yeah. There was one. Who was it? Someone was saying like,
I know Tom Holland was like one of them that people wanted to be Link.
He's just too old now. Like,
yeah.
He just doesn't have the look, in my opinion. There was another casting thing that I thought with him specifically I thought would have worked was the Atlantis movie.
Okay.
So there was a movie. It was the animated Atlantis movie. I can't remember the full name of it, but there's a character named Milo, and there's another character, I forget her name, but they were saying like Tom and Zendaya could play those parts like really well, and people made like a fan edit version with them playing those characters, and yeah, it's like spot on. Like it would be perfect. But yeah, as far as video games though, the Zelda or / Link movie game were they going to use for that? Like, was it supposed to be like Skyward Sword, or was it supposed to be?
It looks like it's gonna be a Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom kind of movie. Because with Zelda, in the way that she's dressed in one of the screenshots, she's wearing the blue tunic as Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
As for Link is wearing, of course, the green tunic, which would make me think maybe Ocarina of Time, seeming as they are making a remake of that game. In the screenshot, Link is wearing his green tunic, which could be Ocarina of Time, seeming as they're making an Ocarina of Time remake, or it could be Twilight Princess around that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think whatever one they do, I kind of hope they bring what's of that other character that Zelda plays, because
Tetra?
There's no. So in one of the, I can't remember which game it is, but she dresses up as like an assassin looking character.
Oh, Sheik. That's Sheik.
Sheik, yeah. So if they brought Sheik to it too, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, but isn't Sheik just Zelda in a different kind of outfit to hide the fact that she's Zelda to
Yeah,
protect the Triforce? Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like I hope they do that. Like I hope they
Okay.
like at one point you don't see Zelda doing whatever, and then all of a sudden Sheik shows up to like say something to Link or like do something, and then disappears, and then later in the movie you see Zelda again or something. I don't know. Like they could totally pull it off. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I could see that as well, seeming as they're also bringing Impa, which is Zelda's
Oh,
caretaker. Yeah,
okay, okay, I could see that.
yeah. Which makes me think if they're bringing Impa, it definitely has to be like Ocarina of Time because I don't remember Impa, the character, being in Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom because there's only Impas.
Yeah, I had to look up
So
the character because I couldn't remember what they look like. Oh yeah, and there's like an old version.
yeah, and then they say that there's another actor, Faith Delaney, but I'm not sure what role she would be playing in The Legend of Zelda.
What I thought was funny when they announced that the new Zelda Ocarina of Time or whatever was getting remastered, there was a lot of people freaking out because they remembered there was some really crazy monsters that were supposed to be in the original game that were like actually nightmare fuel. And then
Yeah.
someone else had to point out, of course, there's the giant fairy god who's like
Oh,
barely
yeah.
wearing anything in that game. Like she's wearing like a bikini or something like that, maybe
Yeah.
like a loincloth or something. And someone pointed that one out, and I'm like, fair trade.
It makes me wonder in the game how are they going to make the great fairies at the fairy fountains look?
Yeah.
Because now it's not just gonna be like polygons and whatnot, it's gonna be fucking full 4K.
Yeah.
So I
exactly.
wonder how that's gonna come out. I want to see more from the trailer because they kind of edged us with the trailer that we got, where it was just Link having the nightmare in his bed, and then the Triforce shows up on his wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I mean,
another thing is people got really upset when the Triforce showed up right at that moment because technically in the game Link doesn't get the Triforce right at the beginning. He has to
No.
prove himself with the three not medallions, but spears.
The piece. Yeah. I don't think it's like that he actually has the Triforce. I think it's that it's just that it's like his like a destiny thing. Like not that like he's being chosen, but he still has to prove himself.
Yeah.
So that's how I interpret that. I don't think it's like, oh, he has the Triforce already. And it's like, no, like that doesn't even make sense. But yeah, I think it would be appropriate that he go through some of those trials, and it shows in the movie and things like that. What I'm afraid of is it being like brushed over too quickly, because you think of the game taking anywhere from 12 to 36 hours to beat, and now you're breaking it down to like maybe 2 hours at most.
Yeah.
So, and here, that's the whole thing too, is like you're talking about for the first like 6 hours of the game, you're the kid version of Zelda,
Yeah.
or of Link. Well, and
Yeah.
Zelda technically, and then you become the adult version, after all that other stuff happens. So there has to be at least 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of the first part of the movie where it's just the kid version of Link, or maybe it starts from the point of the adult version, and then they just do flashbacks of the kid version. That's the only other thing I can think of.
It could be that, or just like how they did the Super Mario Bros. Movie for Mario. They could just try to put like a sprinkle of all the games, so it might not follow the plot of any of the games directly, but it might include like stuff from Ocarina, stuff from Twilight, stuff from Breath and Tears.
Well, the problem with that though is that they're not the same person.
Yeah, that is true.
But what I mean, so the idea is that it's reincarnations of these characters, right? It could even
Right.
be a whole new story because of that.
Yeah.
So, if they have any sort of link, no pun intended, to the games, it's gonna have like probably similar characters, or like you said Impa's going to be there, or if they do throw Sheik or any one of these other characters, it's going to be a mix of, I wouldn't say other games, but it could be a mix of, just kind of how people play games differently. It
Yeah.
could be interpreted differently. So as long as people don't expect it to be exactly like any of the other games, then I think people fine with the movie, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
We're talking about Zelda or Link related movie, and how I look at it is, you got a game, you got a movie, whatever it is, and what do you think makes that game? We'll talk about other games too, but what do you think about Zelda games or Link games or whatever it is makes it a great story? Like, what makes the Link games, the Zelda games or whatever, a great story?
I would say, at least for me, the fact that you could put yourself in Link's shoes and all that. For example, it's one of the games where like you could put your name in there as instead of being called Link, you can have it be your name or something, so you can kind of like personally experience what Link has to go through.
Okay, so the relatability, I guess, or the well, no, probably not the relatability, but the
Yeah, I wouldn't say the relatability. I
I
would
wouldn't
say
even call it
perspective.
perspective. Okay,
Yes.
perspective. Yeah, I guess so. Even that is kind of like, what about putting your name in that gives you a different perspective?
It makes you feel like you are the character. You're not just controlling Link, you are Link.
Okay. So like for I guess, for example, like dialogue. So whenever
Yeah.
the name comes up and it's your name, then it's like they're speaking to you, not to Link.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. That's fair. What else would you say about the game would make it a great story? Because, I mean, to me, like, if I put my name in there, that doesn't mean that I'm actually part of the story in my mind. It just means that I've claimed the character, as mine. But
Okay.
it doesn't mean to me that, like, I'm actually experiencing it. Like, they might be talking to a character with my name, but it doesn't feel like that to me. I think the thing that makes the story great is that the situations that the characters are put through, whether it's with my name or Link or otherwise, you're forced to care for the characters because of how, what they're going through, and in some ways is relatable but not directly relatable. So
Yeah.
like when there's a tragedy or something like that, like, I'm not upset that like the Doku tree died or something like that. It's because I could relate that to like a real life person in my life that also died, and then it becomes relatable in that way. Spoilers, no. I think, yeah, relatable characters or relatable situations that maybe not be directly linked make a good story, I would say.
All right.
But besides Link or Zelda games, let's say RPGs in general, what is something that you value most in the story that makes it great?
I would say you have to have a really good like antagonist.
Oh, so a good villain.
Yeah.
Okay. What makes a good villain?
What makes a good villain? What makes a good villain is if they have a really, really, really good reason, quote unquote, to do the stuff that they are doing. Or at least, like, they have a good backstory on why they are doing what they are.
Or what made them the way they are.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that. Could you think of a game that doesn't necessarily have a villain but still has a great, like, something that's happening in the story that it's not based off of one person but is still like a big catastrophe of some sort that the hero or protagonist has to endure?
I don't believe I can off the top of my head.
Okay. And I mean, if you're just thinking RPGs, then it does become hard because most RPGs do have like a focal point of what you would call the antagonist or villain, where your sole purpose in the game as a hero is to stop this person and any ideas that they have keeping them from, being fulfilled. But when you think about other games, right, that they may or may not have a story, but there's still always something you have to like fight against, what do you think is the most common challenge for like a player or with that character they play? Because to me, like, one of the biggest ones is usually something consumer related, governmental, maybe capitalism is another one.
Okay.
Whether it's like, well, I mean, the easiest thing you probably think of is like a racing game where there is technically a story because you're trying to compete with, like, whether it's players or the, game, or even sports game where you're just trying to win the big trophy at the end of the season or whatever it is, right? But
Right.
there's always statistics and analytics involved that would say you still have to meet some criteria, not just win, right?
Yeah.
So you're fighting money in a way, driving, like, literal cars, but also ideas, right? Would you say a villain is better than an idea, or is it the same thing?
It could be the same thing. Sometimes it really depends. Depends on how big the idea is and how big the villain is. Because some villains just aren't big enough, and some ideas aren't big enough. So it really depends. There's a lot of variables.
Okay. Can you think of an idea in a game where it could have overshadowed a villain? Or even, like, where a villain created an idea, but the idea was stronger than the villain? It could be movies too, or TV, not just games. Because I could think of one movie in particular, the movie The Watchmen. And so in The Watchmen, there was the idea that there was heroes in the world and no one wanted them anymore because they represented something that people believed they didn't need any. So at one point, the Watchmen, or the people that were considered the Watchmen, basically like the Justice League of the world, were disbanded, and all the people that were these hero characters either went into hiding, or they stopped wearing the mask or whatever. Or there was one guy that actually showed who he was, like he came out to the world, said, hey, I'm this hero, and he wrote a book and stuff like that. And then there were heroes that were kind of bitter about it. They were like, the world still needs us. And then there's other people that are like, the world doesn't need us, they need something completely different. And then the villain of the movie, he basically proved the ultimate point by, in a way, turning another hero against everyone, because he was the easiest target, but also the best target because he wasn't someone that could lose. So I don't know if you ever seen the movie.
I have not, no.
Okay, so in the movie there's a character named Mr. Manhattan, or it's either Dr. Manhattan or Mr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan. Yeah.
So Dr. Manhattan is basically a god in this world. Like he could almost do anything, right? So in the movie there's a villain that essentially creates these bombs and sets them off all over the world, but he uses a technology that makes the bombs appear as if it was Dr. Manhattan that created these explosions, and so turning everyone on Earth against Dr. Manhattan. And his reasoning behind that was it would end all wars because no one would want to fight anyone. No other country would want to fight each other. They would want to go after Dr. Manhattan instead. So he had to kill a bunch of people to unify everyone against a singular purpose instead of each other. And that was his whole reason behind it. When you think about the idea behind everything, he was just the button, person. He wasn't like he was intelligent, and he thought of this idea, which is brilliant in theory, but they end up having to so Dr. Manhattan eventually had to leave the planet. I think going to like Mars or something like that, and Earth was basically unified against Dr. Manhattan at that point. Although there was a journal held by another hero named Rorschach, and he kept a journal of everything. It was turned into a news facility, basically telling like how the whole thing happened, and it wasn't Dr. Manhattan, it was actually Ozymandias that devised this whole thing. So you gotta check that movie. It's a really good movie. Like an amazing movie. Yeah. So like even just watch the
series.
Oh yeah, it was a comic before. Yeah, it was I don't know if it was Dark Horse or if it was like something else, but it's a graphic novel. They were graphic novels, but I wouldn't call them comics necessarily, but a graphic novel that a lot of people were very weird about that movie adaptation too, because the movie doesn't exactly follow what the graphic novel shows either. There was a lot of stuff that people thought was left out of the movie, but the movie was already pretty long. I saw it in theaters. I didn't even realize how long it was. I was just too stuck to the screen when I was watching it. I loved it. Yeah, so it's I would say in that case the idea was stronger than the villain, and the villain was just the instrument, or not the I guess the instrument to the idea of it. But the other thing that I have on here is, what's a video game that you would love to see made into a movie?
Funny enough, I feel as if the game of Catherine, to a certain degree, would be a banger idea for a movie.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that happen. It would teeter along something a little bit erotic, I think, but
A little bit, yeah.
but also like the dream sequences and stuff like that would be hilarious, and I could see that being actually pretty interesting. I think it would be almost better as a mini series or something like that.
Yeah, it could be, for sure. My only question would be is, do you think it would be better adapted from the newer game, which has a third love possibility, or do you think the classic would be better to adapt to film?
I honestly think they could probably do both. Like, it could start out with the original two, and then like maybe after a few episodes pass, then the third is added. Like, I feel like that wouldn't be hard to write into play, and kind of go from there. I could see that though. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want to look at my games list to see what I would make it to.
Another question would be is, if they were to adapt Catherine to a film, would it work better as a live action or an animated film?
Oh, most definitely it'd be a better animated film, but I could also see it as a live action film. Like, it'd have to be probably one of those K-drama, J-drama sort of things, but I could absolutely see them doing that. I think it would actually be pretty good as a live action too. Yeah. Just because now we have the technology to do a lot of those weird, wacky things as far as like the dream sequences and stuff like that. And I feel like there's very similar things in like current shows that kind of are weird and strange and stuff, that it wouldn't be like looked at weird, like looked at in a weird way. So, but as far as like a movie or TV show, gosh, I think one that I would actually probably watch, or one game that I think that would be great as a movie and or TV show. Actually, I can think of at least two, but one that comes to mind is Species Unknown. Ooh, I could see that as like sort of like a Starship Troopers-esque or like Alien sort of game, or movie, where like it starts out, they're walking through like a hallway, it's like that shot where that kind of pans up as you see like their gear and their armor and stuff like that, and then they climb into like the ship and then like take off, and then the next second like it just shows that the door opening up into like the main ship, or the derelict ship, where the aliens are, and it's like a wide shot, there's like a body on the floor, and you just see something skitter past the lens or the shot or whatever, and at that second, like, you just see all of them like raise their weapons up, and they're like, what the fuck, that kind of thing. And like that could just be the opening sequence or something like that. And then another game I could see them making into, it'd probably be better as a TV series, just because there's so much already like drama and craziness happening in it, as well, as probably The First Descendant, because there's a lot of depth to the characters that I think would translate well to a like a TV show of some sort. Like, if Netflix took it over and they just used like the same animation, like it would be an animated film, they would just use the same animation techniques and stuff to make it look like the game. It'd just be like a TV show version. Because if you ever take a look at some of the cutscenes that are available on YouTube to watch, they're amazing. They look fantastic, and I don't think it would be hard for them to do that, like to make it into like some sort of episodic TV show. Like, it might only be like one season or two seasons or something like that, but I think it would be really, really cool to see like these characters in the show like evolve and see more to them than what you get from the game. But then again, like, the game has like a lot of personalized like storylines per character. So by playing the game, you already have some idea, but I think if they made it into some sort of TV show, it would add just more depth to the story and to the characters.
Yeah, I guess my last question would be, if you got to choose the cast for a live adaptation of Species Unknown, who would you want to be casted in it?
Oh, question. I mean, you don't really see a face so much, like, except, because it's character creation, so it's like you make the characters however you want. But as far as like acting skill and maybe like the range, or at least like maybe the character or the actor, I think actors that would probably work out for that. I guess it'd be 4 people, because it'd be Marshall Ali, Pete Davidson, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Chloe Grace Moretz in this movie as like these, fully teched out guys looking for a monster, doing these missions and stuff like that. I could see that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. I think the first episode would have to start with at least 3 of those people. And then maybe like an older, wiser, no-name actor, or like maybe a big-name actor that's like on his way out or something like that, that he has to like get killed off the first episode or something like that. So, it adds a little bit more to the story or whatever. But yeah, I think that would make it pretty interesting, I think, to see that. But yeah, that would be really interesting. I think they could pull that off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, though, as far as like the topics for today. I think we've had a lot of great topics today.
Yeah.
And I think next week should be really interesting too. I think you'll have 3, I'll have 3 to go off of. And when we see each other next week, we should have something really interesting to talk about. For now, we'll say thank you for listening and or watching, because we definitely record this. We do this every Friday, or rather we record on Tuesday and we put it out on Friday, because there's a lot of editing to do. But we do appreciate you guys watching, listening, staying tuned. If anything, definitely check us out on our own channels. So me, Matt86, and Astronauts, Astronauts.
Yes.
And where can you find you?
You can find me on Twitter @Astronauts. You can find me on Instagram @Astronauts, and you can find me on twitch.tv/Astronauts.
You can also find me at YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch @Matt86. So with that being said, thank you guys for listening, watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.